Hello, welcome to OHAGIS with Ukoredi Essien. OHAGIS is a platform where we review newspaper headlines and also talk about trending stories around the nation and the globe. And you can be part of this program by liking our Facebook page our page on Facebook, the Daily News NG, and also comment on the comment section. Your comment will be read and treated whenever you do that. This morning I won't be doing this alone. I have a friend and a brother who will be joining me as we review trending stories on Nigeria tabloids and also on the international scene. I have with me Mr. Chiamaka Evans. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Chiamaka here is working with, is a correspondent with TNN, today's news now, and he'll be joining us while we review the newspaper headline. So as usual, we're going to start with local blogs within Cross River State, and today we'll be reviewing two blogs. And first, we'll start with the Daily News. And on the front page of the Daily News this morning, we have a sports story that says that Rovers Football Club of Calabar defeats FC1 Rocket in a friendly match that held yesterday. And the scoreline there was 1-0 after 90 minutes of play. Mr. Chiamaka, what do you think about Rovers Football Club of Calabar? For a while now, they have not been playing and all that. I think they are back. So what do you have to say?
Yes, following their recent performances, I give kudos to them because, as you said, for a while they've been off the scene, both at the LMC and, in fact, every time about football, it was as if Cross River was out, talking about the national local scene. But now they started on a good note, but they need to put more effort. 1-0 is not an encouraging scoreline, even though they won, but they need to put more effort so that they score more goals.
All right, and looking at Rovers Football Club of Calabar, the management of the team, if you've been following stories about Rovers and the sister team, which is the Pelican Football Club, you saw that they have poor management, poor welfare scheme, and they have always been crying on social media and on news platforms that people should come to their aid and all that. Is it that the state government is not sport friendly?
I wouldn't say that the state government is not sports friendly. I would say that Nigeria as a nation, at a point, some administration will come, they will not be sports friendly. Some will come, they will be sports friendly. I give a sharp instances. The Enyimba Football Club of Aba, when the former governor, Ojos Okalu, was the governor, he gave them the needed welfare, and that was a boost to their morale. They won back-to-back the local league. I think anytime there is issue of welfare, be it in football or any other sector, it is always like that. The morale is always low. But I also want to encourage them to not to relent or not to look so much on that, because if they do, since they are calling for sponsors outside the state government, it is when the sponsors see what you are doing that they will be encouraged to come and assist you. So they should also put more effort.
That takes us to the next story, which is a very trending story around between yesterday and today. Impeachment saga. Otupani local government, Otupani Leadership Academy moves to resolve fracas. We all heard the story yesterday, even on this platform, where we dwelt a little on it concerning the Legislative Council, the Otupani Legislative Council, where a new leader of council has been sworn in person of Eton, where after the impeachment of the former leader of council, a new one was sworn in yesterday. So, and here on set, we're here where the chairman of Otupani Leadership Academy said that they are swinging into action to see how they can resolve the crisis between the councillors. So, Mr. Evans, what do you have to say about that? I know it's a trending story, we've all heard it, and not just the fact that he was impeached, he was also beaten. So I don't know if you have anything to contribute to that.
Well, I want to say that it's a laughable one in the sense that ordinary people are now coming to settle the matters of lawmakers, which is what they are to do. Now, this Otupani Leadership Forum Academy is comprised of who and who?
as you know, both,
is it
and surprisingly, both the impeached leader and the current leader, they are members of Oduba Leadership Academy. Even the chairman of council, she's a patron of that academy. So is more or less a leadership school to build and breed new crop of leaders to introduce into the society.
to build new crop of leaders. Now we are talking about giving the young people the opportunity to rule. Now they are in leadership. This is what they can offer, and we even have an academy to groom them. That means that we are not ready for the office before they came for the post. Okay. It's just like having a group coming to amend ways or reconcile issues at the Nigerian Senate. It does not go well for the local government area. I think the lawmakers themselves should look inwardly to know what caused that fracas, and they know how to resolve it among themselves. But if they want outside body to come and do it, well, it is left for them to do the needful. But most importantly, there is need for peace in Yoruba local government.
Yesterday, when Mr. Kingsley was on air, I asked a question, and I also did a follow-up to that question when I got audience with the current leader of council of Olubani Legislative Council, which is Honorable Etom. I was like, for every impeachment to take place, there are procedures that must be followed. So nobody sits one morning in just one sitting and impeach anybody in just one sitting. So when was this plan hatched? When was there a petition against the leader of council? I saw the impeachment notice, which was a 5-count charge. But before that day of the sitting, was there a petition forwarded to him, or who did the petition? The local government council chairman, was she aware of such? Because even she yesterday was saying that she's not aware, that she only heard noises in the chambers, and by the time they went and they saw they were fighting, so she alerted the security. So it means the procedures were not followed. A petition was not sent to the chairman or whoever that petition should go to, and the former leader was not called to defend himself. So there was no fair hearing in that case before the impeachment and all that. So I don't know if you have anything to contribute to that.
Well, if all you have narrated actually did happen, it means that the fight may not be the 5-count charges that they levied against the former speaker. It may be as a result of some selfish interest that was emanating between or among the lawmakers themselves, and it was as if that after the House will see, they will go behind.
Well, if you say selfish interest emanating among the lawmakers themselves, there are 13 lawmakers in the council, and out of 13, 11 signed the petition or the impeachment notice.
For the fact that,
so if 11 signed, so it means it is he himself and one other person who didn't sign. So he only has one person to his side.
That's what I'm saying. That means for the fact that you have narrated that due processes were not followed, it then means that
don't you think it's lapses? Because I was looking at, I thought of it yesterday, having elected 197 lawmakers across the states. When were these people trained in the art of lawmaking? When did these people have their legislative training before you send them out? Do they have a formal background? There were no lawmakers. They were ordinary citizens like you and me. So, and we all know that after your election as a lawmaker, you undergo some level of training. You know how to pass move motion, how to write your this thing, how they call it, bills and all those stuff. So I think our lawmakers need to be up and doing. I was even expecting that, okay, we have the senior lawmakers in the State House of Assembly from each of these local governments. Why don't you go back home, call the councillors, and maybe organize a training for them? You show them how to do this stuff and not just align them. So at the end of the day, I keep asking myself, how many bills do these people churn out? How many of those bills are bills that are people oriented? How many of those bills at the end of the day have effect in the society and in the community? It is because of this lack of training or putting square pegs in round holes that is resulting into this. Because if 11 out of 13 signed, it means the former leader may have erred. You understand? It means all his colleagues are not happy with him. But because of lack of training or lack of knowledge, they didn't know how to go about it legally or formally.
Yeah, we can't deny the fact that the former leader may have erred to some extent. We can't also deny the fact that the new one and the 11 that signed against him have not also erred, because we've not really got to know the real essence or where the root cause of all these crises happening there. Because before now, we've not heard anything about Bulubani local legislature coming to the public space. Just the first time they are being coming to the public is about prices and impeachment without even following due processes. It tells you how porous and how weak our system has been. And I think the chairman, local government council chairman, should look into it.
All right. So please, whoever is watching this, if you are hearing us, I think something have to be done with our legislative councils across the 100 and across the 18 local governments. And there's a new trending story. There's a trending story about our councillors. Most of them are not happy. Let not say most, all of them. There's a plot. I don't know if that plot have been hashed. I don't know if that plot have been hashed, but there is how they call it. There is a plot to against all the 18 leaders of council by the 190 remaining 190 something councillors, because they believe that their leaders are working hand in hand with the state government to surcharge them. So they are not happy. There's a lot of deductions going on their salaries every month. Their welfare is not being taken care of up to date. None of those councillors have been given their personal cars, or let's say official cars. Most of them don't even have seats in their offices to sit or to even entertain their visitors and all that. So the welfare of our lawmakers at the grassroots level is very porous, and I think that is one of the reasons why we are seeing all this happening within our local government structures. Okay.
Well, if they are not happy with the current state of their welfare, they are lawmakers themselves. They know the law and they know what is needful. Instead of complaining through rumors and all the rest of them, let them follow due processes. Since they are lawmakers, they know the right steps to follow, and then bring up their issues, and the public, it will come to the hearing of the governor, and it will be addressed. And also,
somebody once said something on social media yesterday. He said that Cross River State lawmakers were handpicked from nothing, and they were given nothing, and they are staying with nothing because they can do nothing. So that is the system we found ourselves, where people were handpicked to represent us. So they were not elected. We're all here. We saw what happened during the elections. So will you say those people will be bold enough to confront the governor? Because even if the local government chairman himself or themselves, the 18 local government, they are also not satisfied with the system. They were all handpicked. So at the end of the day, you cannot bite the finger that fed you.
Well, in as much as I may believe that we are picked from nothing, right? From the comment that somebody said, out of nothing, and they have nothing, and
they can do nothing.
They can do nothing. I want to challenge them. Lawmakers in Cross River State, I want to challenge them to prove this comment wrong. That they can do something. Even though that you are picked out of nothing, you have been handed, you've been given nothing. Then prove us that you have something, and then you can do something. You can now come up and do whatever you want to do. And also, I don't think that giving councillors cars is part of the is written anywhere that is a responsibility of the governor to give all the lawmakers vehicles.
It is not the responsibility of the governor. Okay. That's where I was going into. There is local government autonomy. Now, for this local government autonomy, I think the finances that comes from the federal allocation was supposed to go straight to the local government chairman of each of these, the chairman of each of these local government across the 177 local government we have in the country. So, but it's not so in Cross River State.
I could remember that when they were being inaugurated or sworn in by the governor, talking about the council chairman, the governor has said that he has handed over a huge amount of money to them. I wouldn't know if that was handed over.
That was true, but
okay.
Let me explain vividly what. Now, the governor mentioned a total sum of money from the 18 local government area, not what he gave each of the district. Why the governor said he gave to them, he didn't give to them, it is their money. There's a joint account.
That means there is something for them to start work with.
Now, there are some local government who met 55,000. There's some local government who met 100 and something thousand. I think the highest local government made about 300 and something thousand also. So it is a sum of all these monies that I think it was about 1.something billion that the governor was bragging that he has given to local government. So there's nothing and they are doing nothing.
It's quite unfortunate and it's discouraging that all these are coming from the angle of those that ought to make laws that will govern and see the peace, ensure that peace and order is maintained in the society. I wonder what they will do.
Well, that takes us to another trending story. Yes, it trended yesterday on Facebook. We're looking at Cross River University of Technology and resumption of school after the long break and the COVID-19 and all that. You know, the school just had a new vice chancellor within the break period. So, and his name is Professor Angba. So the story has it here that Angba calls for effective dissemination of information across Critex campuses and inaugurates media team. So Professor Angba has just come in. I think he's barely 4 months or 6 months. He was first brought in as an acting vice chancellor for a period of I think about 3 or 6 months before he was confirmed some few months ago. I think precisely in December or November last year, he was confirmed as the substantive vice chancellor of Cross River University of Technology. And there have been 1 or 2 good things being said about him. The renovation he's carrying out in the school. Yesterday, pictures floated online where the grass have been cut. Then there's water running around campuses. Maybe that will aid in the washing of hands as we look at the COVID-19 preventive methods and all that. Last week also, ASU were of the opinion that schools were not prepared for opening because they are not prepared with their COVID-19 protocols. So I think what Professor Angba is doing is trying to make sure that as soon as the student returns, they have a conducive environment to operate in. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, for him to inaugurate a media team means that he's a media friendly vice chancellor. That's very, very fine. That's very, very fine. I wouldn't know his motive because I know that the school has a public relations unit that handles information and disseminates it to the public. But for him to have another unit or a team specifically for information, that's a good one. And I would also want to say that cutting of grasses and having water run in the university, these are not projects.
Okay,
they are statutory
rights
and things you ought to do. So those are not projects. You cannot come and say that he has done any project by cutting grass and ensuring that there is water and power supply.
I think they didn't say he has cut he has done project. They said that he has made the environment conducive and ready for the return of students.
Yes, from what I know about that university, the staff there are seriously crying as a result of poor welfare.
Okay.
Just as we heard about the Rovers FC. So it seems that every sector is talking about the same thing. So they want him. Okay. That's the highest expectation they want from him, or the highest project I want him to do. Not just look at the infrastructural development, but he should also look at the welfare of his staff, so that they will give him their best.
And leaders of Crutec, you've heard from your people. What they want you to do is look into their welfare. I know too well that Crutec is an autonomous university, so it sources for its own funds with little funding from state government. So I don't know how you're going to do it, but your staff welfare, I think, is paramount after the student academy. All right, so we move to the other stories trending on the daily news, which is disregard discouraging stories on COVID-19 vaccines. Cross River government begs citizens. There have been this rumor about the vaccine is this, it will kill this, it will do this. The wise men are trying to make sure we are no longer fertile, or to reduce our population and all that. So there have been a lot of myth and stories around the vaccines. So Cross River State government is begging citizens that please disregard these rumors. They are not true. The vaccines are here to help. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, that's a nice one because most health professionals, I think that's coming from the DG of primary health care.
Exactly.
Okay, most of the health professionals or practitioners in the country, they have not really come up to give a statement regarding this COVID-19 vaccine. But what I would advise is, apart from warning citizens to disregard every information about it, there should be a proper sensitization about this vaccine. First, go to the people, look at their concerns about this vaccine, what are their fears, and then you address specific issues that the public is bringing up, not to just tell them to disregard. It calls for proper investigation and proper sensitization before you tell me to disregard something and I will disregard. There is need for sensitization and education.
I think following up with that, let me just read a headline from the Vanguard. It says Governor Bello rejects COVID-19 vaccine, says it's meant to kill.
Now you see contradiction.
So where a government here is saying disregard information, and that government up there is saying we don't want it, it's meant to kill. And one thing I know about Governor Yaya Bello of Kogi State is that he tends to flout federal government orders with reckless abandon. Permit me to use that because I remember when they said schools will not open on the 18th. He was the first governor who said his schools are resuming on the 18th. And when they said up to date, Governor Yaya Bello still believes that Kogi State has only 5 recorded cases of COVID-19. So despite the increase and despite the closures of Kogi State to other states who have high numbers of these infections, but the state have refused to accept that there's COVID-19 in Kogi State. And today he's saying he doesn't want the vaccines. Not just because, if he had said, okay, we don't have COVID-19 in Kogi State, so we don't need the vaccine, that would be okay, but he's also bringing another side of the story that the vaccines are meant to kill.
There are so many divergent views and conflicting issues surrounding this COVID-19 and the vaccine, both from the World Health Organization and even from our own medical practitioners here in the country, even here in Cross River. So there is need for proper sensitization of the public. There are so many fears, there are so many views about whether COVID-19 is real or not, whether there is the government of them wants to use this vaccine to achieve a particular aim or purpose. So they should first of all come up. This one is saying, disregarding is saying, please, we don't want it in our state. It's not left for a particular for the organization authority in charge of that to do proper sensitization and reorientation of the people. Tell them address their fears first, and then come up with convincing views that would help them to accept the vaccine or say yes, indeed, we need to be cautious of COVID-19.
All right. Then also on the Vanguard, we have a security information news headline here. Say insecurity, Senate won't fight Buhari to please anybody. That is Lawan. So when I first saw this headline, I was like, does the Senate really need to fight the presidency? And even if the Senate is log ahead with the presidency concerning a particular issue, does it really mean they are doing that to please anybody? We all know there's insecurity in Nigeria, so the Senate should sit up and ensure that the presidency, because the presidency is part of the executive arm of government, so they are the implementation, in what lies the word implementers and all that. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, the only thing I would say is that they are still the lawmakers. They know why They should have known why they were voted into that office, and they should do the needful, not to please anybody, be it the public, be it the president, or be it themselves or the leader of the house. They should do whatever they ought to do and be transparent in discharging their duties so that there will be fairness and equity in the country.
All right, then finally we move over to Punch newspaper, and the first to read on Punch is INEC planning to make name compulsory for voters registration. So it's compulsory that before you vote you must have your NIN number.
Wow, I don't know where we are heading to. I don't really know. Actually, it ought to have ended yesterday from what the body said, and up to today they've not
Implemented.
I don't know if they have blocked any line, disconnected anybody, because I know that I submitted my long time ago, only for them to send me a message yesterday. That was the last day that my name did this and did that. It's not corresponding and whatsoever. I should go back to the office, and whereas I've sent it since December last year.
Well, I think there was a news headline we had, was yesterday before yesterday, where the agencies was complained that equipment, faulty equipment is slowing the registration process.
They had even gone on strike.
And all, so there a lot of preparation that this would really have to do. Then we have the last newspaper headline we're going to review this morning, which is still from Punch. It says that Trump shuns bidding as new president inauguration holds today.
He's a wounded lion.
Okay.
His tenure is over. Let him give way for another person to try. He has done his bid. He has done well. He has done what he needed to have done to fight to ensure that he returns back. He returns to the seat, but it was not in favor.
But as an individual, do you believe that the election was rigged against Trump or not?
I don't know. I was not there. We only watched it at the television.
Is there any free and fair election anywhere in the world?
I would say Edo State shocked us.
Was it free and fair?
With the facilities I saw, at least it was 70% fair.
Okay, thank God you say 70% fair.
So it was free and fair.
There's hardly anywhere in the world
Yes, exactly. We have
free and fair,
yes,
complete free and fair election.
If he had won, even if you give it back to him today, the other person will say it wasn't free and fair. So nobody will lose and will say that it's free and fair. It's only Jonathan that's.
That's just where I want to go to. I said I expected Trump to have behaved like President Goodluck Jonathan, where he knew that, in short, there were clear evidences that this election wasn't free and fair. The elections were rigged. And you saw what happened in, was it Cardinal State, where the INEC resident commissioner there raised alarm that the elections were rigged. That lady or that man was burnt with his family and all that. That's how the evidence, the commissioner said he was going to bring for that, and it all died with the man. And today, up to today, nobody have said anything about that. With all those glaring evidences, Goodluck Jonathan had to concede defeat. So I expected Trump, from a developed society, to also do the same pattern. And I thank God so much that American system of government was put on test, and it came out strong and all that. So viewers, that's where we're going to draw the curtain for today. And I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Evans, for finding out time despite your busy schedule as a correspondent, and to review headlines here with us. And for us viewers out there, thank you for staying with us. Your comments, your likes, your support, and what have you will be highly commendable. Thank you. See you tomorrow as we continue with Whole Hard Gist with Okorede.